Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video. Today I'm doing a review of the 10th Doctor adventure series, The Creeping Death by Roy Gill, starring David Tennant and Catherine Tate, and it is the part of the third series of 10th Doctor Adventures, episode 3 in that series. There's only ever 3 episodes anyway, so there's 9 episodes in total across the 3 series. You've got the bio or synopsis sort of thing there. You've also got the runtime, which is 60 minutes, as well as the cast list and all that. You've got the new Jodie Whittaker logo on the back, as well as on the thing, the one of the sides of the booklet, as well as the disc. And then removing the disc, it just has advertisements for the 9th, 10th and 11th Doctor Chronicle sort of box sets, which I've not got any of. But yeah, cover-wise, or the cover, it's just pretty standard cover. It's Tennant, Catherine Tate, and then one of the other characters, and then sort of this greenish, reddish sort of cover, nothing too special there. What is interesting is that on the spine, you've got the Doctor Who logo, BBC, The Creeping Death, 3.3, Big Finish. But what is interesting is right at the top, you've got like this squiggly emblem thing, which is interesting because it looks like Gallifreyan, which I'm always fascinated by when I see that in any form, really, myself. But I'm pretty sure the other one in the third series that I've got has Gallifreyan on the spine as well, but I don't think the other ones that I have from series 1 and 2 do, which is quite interesting, but also weird to me anyway. But yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, so moving on to the actual episode, David Tennant is just David Tennant or the 10th Doctor. It's like he's never left the role, really. He just is that incarnation of the Doctor. He just plays that so well, which, thinking about it in retrospect, and the older I've got and the more time has passed since him being in the show, it is kind of bonkers to think that he played this heroic sort of character for a whole generation of kids, myself included, considering that I think, thinking about it in more detail, he is more probably played more bad guys since, and I feel like he just does that more naturally, and that. Not that he's bad, obviously, as the 10th Doctor, but yeah. Also, there's the actual David Tennant-y logo-like thing. That's the one that I chose. It's the reversible cover, basically. Mentioning that, oh my god, the amount of nostalgia I had when the theme started playing, like that. Yeah, it felt very that sort of Series 4 theme as well. Very guitar-y, very heavy metal-y, for lack of a better term, or pop music-y, even. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Like, yeah, they've captured those idiosyncrasies and characteristics. Finer, yes, Donna, well, sort of characteristics, and the Alonzi sort of thing, and molto bene, or whatever, and just, yeah, and it even feels like almost like a Russell T Davies script, almost. It's big, it's bombastic, it's quite, yeah, big and bombastic, but still quite sort of just Doctor Who-y, if that makes sense. Like, with some of the stuff that happens in the latter act, or the third act, and the latter part of the story, it's all set around London, in, what year was it again? 1952, and yeah, it's got some decent side characters. Quick comparison would be, it feels like a darker, better version of Unicorn and the Wasp, which, if you didn't know, is a story I don't particularly like. I don't know why. I don't know. It's not one of my favourites personally. I mean, I have nostalgia for it, because obviously I grew up on that sort of era, Eccleston and Tennant era, the Russell T Davies era. So I'd be lying if I didn't have nostalgia for it, but that doesn't mean that I like all of the episodes in that era. And that, Donna and/or Catherine Tate is phenomenal. She just has this sort of way of being like this hammer. It's like bringing a hammer to fix a watch. You need more intricate, careful tools, and she's a hammer. As I say, trying to fix a watch, and that's always fun. Very sort of blunt, very just sort of her. She has no filter really. She's not masking, as it were, and I think that's one thing that I do really love about her character. There are two things that sort of feel very of the era, like two little Easter egg like things that they mention. Fires of Pompeii, and they mention something else about spoiler alert, but something on her back. Which is quite weird because obviously the two kind of contradict each other in so much as when I heard the Pompeii one, I was like, oh, so this is early in the timeline of the 4th series of Doctor Who, and then they say, side character says, oh, there's something on your back, which then makes me think, oh no, it's near the latter end of the, part of series 4. So yeah, that was a bit weird. I like a lot of the side characters. I like Ivory, is it? Her. She was really cool. She was very, very. She kind of reminded me of Nurse Redfern in that Human Nature and Family of Blood. Obviously, not quite as strong a character, but definitely up there. And that, I think for an hour-long story, it runs by really quickly. The pacing is very fast, but again, it is very of that sort of Russell T Davies sort of fast-paced story, I guess. Trying to match that sort of pacing of that era so it doesn't feel out of place. I like the fact that it's set in London, and that in this interesting time where there's this smog. At first I was like, oh my god, maybe Macra, but then again, to be fair, you had them in the previous series with Tennant, so... but that would have been cool. I like the new and original sort of baddies. They're not the strongest ones ever, but they don't really need to be, I guess. And they do something interesting at the end. And that there are quite a few, as I say, different side characters, and there's two people who have a relationship that are gay, and it's just interesting because obviously at the time that would have just been such a taboo, but obviously Donna doesn't know any better. And yeah, at the beginning as well, it just felt like very sort of Series 2-esque as well, if anything, where Tennant and or the 10th Doctor would be sort of, for lack of a better term, dicking about and just messing around, mucking around in the TARDIS, and you'd have a scene with him and Rose just sort of larking about in the TARDIS and that. Which is kind of weird because we don't really get that in the Jodie Whittaker era, but there are so many companions, that's probably why, which is just kind of weird because obviously you have even longer in that era, or longer episodes as opposed to when Russell was writing it. But yeah, weird. But yeah, at the beginning they have that little sort of chill out time, if you will, at the beginning, which I like because it's just nice. It's a nice breather before... it's a nice sort of breather calm before the storm, very much so, and it just makes, I like that because it allows for Doctor Who to feel a little bit more weighted in reality, or anchored a bit more like it is really happening, if that makes sense. Like, it's not always just bad thing, monster every, week. And that obviously that is Doctor Who through and through, but it is nice to have that illusion of just a little bit, like they do have downtime, they do have relaxing adventures or times when, not much is happening or whatever. And yeah, honestly, this is a really solid, decent sort of story. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10, honestly. It's fun, it's dark in moments here and there, and that it just feels very new series-esque, and that's what they're going for, and in that respect they, as I say, smash it out the park, really. An 8 out of 10 for me, The Creeping Death by Roy Gill. Thanks for watching, comment, rate and subscribe.